Welcome to the Low Country Revolutionaries, the podcast that dives deep into the heart of Charleston, South Carolina's vibrant entrepreneurial scene. I'm your host, Bill Bellott, founder of Veritas Exoscience, and each week we're spotlighting the boldest innovators from the Chucktown startup community. These are the visionaries pouring their heart and soul into the businesses that are transferring Charleston into a global hub of creativity and American ingenuity. Get ready for raw, real conversations with the trailblazers shaping our city's future. Let's dive in. I would like to welcome Aaron Silverman. Aaron Silverman is Ari's dad, co-founder and executive director for Ari Foss Foundation, which is a not-for-profit that was created to help parents and families with financial assistance for cremations or funerals when there is a stillbirth or neonatal loss. The Ari Foss Foundation was created in honor of Ari Foss Silverman, the beloved first child of Laura and Aaron Silverman. Welcome, Aaron. Great to see you.
Yeah, thanks, Bill. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, so tell me about Ari's Foundation here, and what are you guys trying to do? And I hear you got an event coming up real soon, so tell me a little bit about that.
All right, yeah. So to start off, what we do is relatively simple. When a family has a stillbirth, which is 20 weeks or later in pregnancy, and the baby is lost, or a neonatal loss, which is birth up to 27 days, we can step in and help with financial assistance for the funeral and cremation. As you read that introduction, one thing we're going to be adding soon is support.
Really?
We recently received a grant to help families with some support post financial support. So we're working on that. So that's some exciting stuff that we got coming up. So just like a for-profit business, we are expanding how we help the people we interact with.
That's amazing. That is great news. So how do you find out about families? That's kind of like on top of my head. I mean, I imagine you guys have your own network of family and friends, but you must be trying to figure out who can you help. How do you go about that?
That's one of the benefits here in Charleston. We have MUSC. So MUSC is a big because of they have the highest risk patients. We have a relationship with them. They have a brochure that we created that they hand to families when they have a stillbirth and neonatal loss. And then we've also expanded to Roper St. Francis.
Okay.
And we have a relationship with them as well. So we build the relationship with the hospitals, who in turn refer families to us.
Oh, great. And is there, the grants and stuff that you get, is it from the federal government or is it from private foundations? And do you guys accept donations from like regular people too? How do you get the resources in order to do all this great work?
So all the above except federal.
Okay.
And the only reason not federal is because I just don't know of any federal grants. If we knew of them, we would apply. We have received a grant from the Medical Society of South Carolina, which is based out of Roper St. Francis. We've gotten a grant through the Coastal Community Foundation as well. And so we look at grants that way. We're actually right now we're applying for a grant through the city of Charleston.
Nice.
And then also we do take donations. Individual donations are a big thing. As you mentioned briefly, we do have an event coming up, our first annual Memorial Walk, which is at Park Circle.
Nice.
That's our first big fundraiser that we've done. And so we're looking forward to that. It's actually coming up soon on October 4th.
Nice. And Park Circle, I'm not as familiar with the area. I just moved down here in 2021. Is that in the downtown Charleston area, or where is that?
That's in North Charleston.
Okay.
And so it's near where 526 and 26 intersect.
Nice.
So kind of close to that.
Nice. And it's a memorial walk. Is it how long is it? It's like a 5K, 10K, or what kind of distance people are going to be walking here?
So initially we were calling it a 5K because 6 laps around the circle is about a 5K.
Yeah.
But as I would go and run it, I was like, this is kind of tough sometimes. I'm not in the greatest of all shape. Then I was like, some of the families we're helping and that I know are coming, they might not be able to walk that. So I kind of pivoted and thought, we're going to equate this to the grieving process. If someone wants to come out and just do one lap, then you do 1 lap. That's what you wanted to do. If you want to do 6 laps and do a 5K, great. And so we're also going to have food trucks. We're going to have a musician there. We've got some vendors. So we're kind of making it an event and not just a walk.
Right.
So we're trying to make it so people want to hang out and they can walk and have a good time.
That's great. And, so you're going to have food, games and different things, different activities, it sounds like. So that will be a great time. What time is it on the 4th?
So 10 to 1.
Okay. So 10 to 1 on the 4th. That's grand. So what else? You were talking a little bit about this, helping families. How many families have you guys reached so far? And what's like your goal for a year?
So far this year, we've helped 27 families. We have a 28th one that I'm waiting for the funeral home to call us back so we can make a payment. Last year was 8, and then the year before was 4. So 39 families total.
Wow.
So far. We don't have a goal of how many families we help because that's kind of passive. That's outside of our control.
Correct.
What we're trying to do is expand into new hospitals. And so that's kind of our goal. We want to cover the entire state of South Carolina at some point, which is why we're holding our first fundraising event. So that way we can expand into additional hospitals.
Right. And do you guys work with certain funeral homes, or is it just any funeral home that kind of, the family chooses? How does that part kind of work?
So we're ambivalent to the funeral home. And as long as they'll take a credit card, we'll pay them.
Okay.
Yeah, but as long as we get the invoice from them, we do need the paperwork side of things for tracking and if we ever get audited and that kind of stuff.
Right. And one of the things is like this is obviously like a very hard and emotional time for folks. How do you deal with people that are going through like, their worst day in their life probably? And do you guys have like any kind of training, or how do you go about kind of dealing with that and having these conversations? Because I can imagine this is kind of hard.
And so that's why we are developing an education and support program, because right now I don't interact with the families much at all.
Right.
It's via email. Sometimes they'll call, but we're just making a payment. So it's very much more of a limited transactional interactions. Interaction. Yeah. It's more of a transactional interaction. Yeah. But as we do the support, we want to help provide them resources. Like we're not trying to create any new resources.
Right.
We're just trying to be more of a resource hub. And so that way we can point them to support groups that they could potentially go to, give them some information on therapy and the benefits of it. Some books that helped. And so that's what we're trying to get into, the support stuff. We don't do too much of that now. It'll be interesting at the memorial walk. So far, of those 39 families, I've only met one of them so far.
Okay.
They came out to an event that we had at Buffalo Wild Wings, a fundraising event a few months ago. But we've got several who are coming on the 4th. And so I might shed some tears when I meet those families.
Yeah, I can imagine so.
Yeah, because it is a very emotional time.
Yeah, and I was reading a little bit about your story, and it's super sad. It's something that unfortunately a lot of families kind of have to go through, and it's not something that you plan for. It's like that's the furthest thing from your mind when you're going to have a baby and stuff like that, and so it sounds like you guys really are providing this amazing service. Are you thinking of just keeping this a Charleston area thing, or are you thinking of expanding to other places around the country too?
So South Carolina is pretty much where we only want to be.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what the future, because right now, like I said, we do stillbirth up to neonatal loss, but I want to go the whole way up to postnatal, which is up to 1 year.
Okay.
And so when you start looking at numbers that South Carolina puts out, that would almost That would be about a third increase of potential families we could help. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but it's roughly 350 per year right now.
Wow.
In the stillbirth and neonatal loss throughout the state. And so add another third to that. But also we want to help people more holistically than just financially. And I really want to lean into that support side. Like if we're talking pipe dreams, I would love to have the funding available to pay for therapy for people.
Right.
When we lost Ari, I was a mess. I was all over the place. I went to therapy for a few years. And in therapy, I learned a term called both and. And it was I could be both happy and sad at the same time. And that really helped me turn a corner. But my therapist told me that for like 2 years. It took a while for that to, get beat into my head. So so like our memorial walk, it is to remember the babies that have been lost and the families we've helped. But we can do that and have a good time while having it. So both and has really become a thing in my life. So South Carolina, that's why we kind of limit it there, because I really want to help with that post loss, post burial, post cremation support, because therapy can take a year. Yes. And so we're talking a lot of money if we are helping people pay for that. So,
right. That's very true. I mean, people in my family have dealt with postpartum depression and things like that, and so I can see, and that doesn't get resolved overnight, and so like you said, things go on beyond just the immediate, passing away and burial and all that. There's a long tail to this, and providing support for the mother and father is something I haven't heard of anybody really doing other than you guys. So that's very laudable of what you're doing. So tell me a little bit more about, what can people do to kind of get engaged with you guys? If they want to help, if they want to donate, is everything through your website? How do you kind of manage that?
So we have the Ari Foss Foundation.org. AriFossFoundation.org is our website. And from there, you can connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. Mm-hmm. We've got a pretty robust social media platform. So when you look, so people can volunteer if they would like at our memorial walk, or they can donate. Unlike a lot of nonprofits, that we don't have too many volunteering opportunities, right, because we're quote unquote cutting checks to help families. And we pay the vendors directly. We don't give the money to the families. We pay vendors directly to ensure that those things get paid. Right. And so the reason why we have such a robust social media is because from my business background, I try to run this like a business. Right. And so we need marketing as a pretty big component to get people aware of us. And so we have a fundraising and marketing director, Maggie. She's done a great job developing it. She's actually our only employee. She does it full time. I volunteer my time in running the organization. My wife does some as well, and she volunteers her time. And of course, all of our board members volunteer their time.
That's great. And, so you guys have MUSC, you have Francis Roper.
Roper St. Francis.
Yeah, St. Francis. Are you looking to add other hospitals within this area too, or other parts of the medical community?
So we want to cover the state as quickly as possible. So when you break down South Carolina as a government has broken down South Carolina into 4, sometimes 5 perinatal regions. Okay. And so Charleston, being in with MUSC, we actually cover a good portion of the Low Country from Beaufort up to Myrtle Beach. The high risk families come down here. Okay. And so when you look at the regions, there's MUSC over this one, McLeod Medical Center up in Florence. Okay. They cover that region. And then there's Prisma Health in Columbia. And then in the upstate, the reason why I said there's 4/5 regions, because the upstate is one region that's sometimes broken into two, because they have a regional center in Greenville and Spartanburg. So we want to expand into those 4 regional centers next, because that would then give us coverage for the highest risk patients in the state.
Right.
Now that's our plan, but just like every business, you got to pivot.
Right.
And so the grant we received for the education support program is for Allendale and Hampton County down in the southeastern corner of the state. Yeah. So we'll be expanding down there and into Buford as we roll out that education program. Again, that wasn't initially our goal, but that's where the grant came from. So that's why we're expanding there. And so, so it really depends on where the funds come from.
Yep, absolutely. That makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. So are you guys, is your family Charleston natives? Did you move here from somewhere else? What is it about Charleston that keeps you here and lets you do what you're doing right now?
So I moved here when I was in high school. Okay. Back in the mid 90s. And so I graduated from Wando when it was at where Lucy Beckham is now. so kind of confusing on that piece there. And so then my wife moved down here after high school.
Okay.
Her parents had moved down here for a job. And so she eventually moved down here after college. And so we met down here and have stayed here.
Nice. That's wonderful. Is there anything else you want to kind of tell people? Do they need to do anything to prepare for the event on the 4th? Just show up, do they need to wear any like sports gear or anything like that? Do you guys have like any, will there be like t-shirts or anything that people will get for the Memorial Walk? What's going to go on around that?
So ideally, we'd love it if they register before they come. Okay. If you go to the website, there's a link on there to the event page. But this is Charleston. People don't do anything till the last minute. And so we do expect a lot of day of registrations. For people who register, they will get a T-shirt. We get a T-shirt. We got a grab bag. For some of the food trucks, they're going to get a $5 coupon that they can get, use to pay for some food at the food truck. And so anyone who registers will get a T-shirt. We've got 100 T-shirts, but if day of registrations, if we run out, unfortunately we run out. So that's why I encourage people to register to ensure that they do get a T-shirt.
Awesome. Yeah. So I guess kind of final thing is like, well, couple final things. If there are companies out there, because we have a large network of especially startup companies and Chucktown startups. If there are companies out there that are looking to maybe help either sponsor this event or future events, can they reach out and talk to you, or should they talk to Maggie about that? How would that come about?
Either or. And so, as I mentioned, I have a business side of me as well, a for-profit business. So my management company, I don't do traditional advertising. I only support organizations, so like cause marketing, so to say. Right. And so that has gotten me a lot of business over the years. So when businesses think like, oh, I've got X amount of advertising dollars, how am I going to spend it? If they've never gotten involved with an organization, they will be surprised how many of those people in that world will then come and do business with them. Oh, and great. So like I've gotten clients just from supporting some nonprofit events. That being said, getting involved is important as well from the company. It's not just, hey, we want to give you some money to advertise. Now we're going to sit back and reap the rewards. You do need to participate as a volunteer as well. And so that way you build those relationships. That's what Charleston is. Charleston's all about relationships. Right. And so it gives you the chance to, one, gives your company good PR because you're taking pictures there and like, hey, we're here volunteering some time. And so yes, we definitely encourage businesses to come. They can support us as a sponsor, make an employee thing and, come out and have a good time. And so we will definitely be this will be an annual event for us for the Memorial Walk. And then in the spring of 2027, we'll also start having a gala as well, because everyone does galas. I'm told we have to have one as well. And so that'll be this spring of 2027.
Well, that sounds wonderful. Well, and I was going to ask you, like, what advice you have for entrepreneurs, but yeah, I think you just kind of told them, it's like, listen, engage and you will reap the rewards, and, you'll do a lot of good too.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, because I saw that, so that's something I think about. And so I give the same advice so I went to the Coastal Community Foundation when my wife and I were thinking about starting the Ari Foss Foundation. I've known them for a while. I love the Coastal Community Foundation. They're a great organization. Their advice was simple: don't start it. Mm-hmm. And I was like, all right, well, that really stinks. I came here for advice and you're giving me the exact opposite.
Right.
And I was like, so why are you giving me that advice? And I don't remember the person I was speaking with. I forget her name, unfortunately. She said, because it's just like running a business. And I was like, oh, that's great. I already run a business, so I can do this.
Right.
And so they've been very supportive. Their point is you're running a business. If you're going to start a business, whether it's for-profit or non-for-profit, you got to do it the right way, set it up right, and make sure you're following the rules. And also, their other advice is someone else already doing what you want to do?
Right.
And if so, get involved with them and help them do better. And so I did the market research, and there was no one doing what we do. There's one other one that I know of, but they've got so many hoops you got to jump through to get assistance, and they're not in our area. So the only way you're finding them is if you go Google search and find them. And so what we're doing, we've actually spun it completely on its head. We don't want families to find us. We want to find them. Right. We're trying to get to them when they need us. And so we really fill a niche that no one else is filling. And so that's my advice for anyone looking to start a business is, what are you doing differently? It's incremental changes or incremental improvements aren't enough for people to switch and come to you.
Right.
And so you really got to be a game changer in how you do it. And if someone else is doing it, maybe you can partner with them to do it better.
Right.
And do what they do. So, because there's so when I tell people what we do, a lot of people say, oh, have you heard of the March of Dimes? I'm like, yes, they're great. March of Dimes and lots of other organizations are trying to prevent infant death and stillbirths. And what they do is wonderful. There's so many people doing it. I don't even know how much money in there, tens of millions, hundreds of $1 million already in that realm.
Right.
We would be less than a drop of a bucket if we tried to get into that. So we saw the need on the other end. All right, the worst has already happened. And so that's why we went there, is because that's from a market standpoint, no one was filling that void. Right. And that's what we tried to fill. So that's my recommendation to anyone is, fill a niche. Don't just try to get into a crowded area.
Exactly. Yeah. So, yeah. Do something that helps others and fills a gap, a niche, and make a difference. So I think that's great advice, Aaron. That's really spectacular. I appreciate that, and I really enjoyed our conversation today. I hope your memorial walk is super successful, and I hope some companies and individuals contact you and contribute and help you guys out, because what you're doing sounds like really amazing stuff.
I really appreciate it. Thank you for the time and talking with me. I enjoyed it.
All right. Well, you have a great day.
You too, Bill.
That's a wrap for this episode of the Low Country Revolutionaries. Thanks for joining us as we celebrate the fearless entrepreneurs making wave in Charleston's Chucktown Startups community. I'm Bill Bellot, and it's been an honor to share these inspiring stories with you. If you enjoyed this episode, subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who needs a spark of low country innovation. Until next time, keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible.